Thanks for joining us for another episode. Walter Storholt alongside Frank Oliver of Oliver Asset Management. And Frank, can't wait to lean on your expertise today as we get into this April Fool's conversation.
Can't wait to share it.
Okay, so first of all, we always have to have a little chit-chat at the beginning. And since it's an April Fool's topic, have you ever been the victim of a great April Fool's prank, or have you ever pulled one off on your own?
I can't say a great one because that would probably stand out in my mind, but there's always tiny little pranks going around the office, and especially with my wife. Yeah, she's kind of a prankster herself. So
nice.
We got a few weeks to see what kind of pranks get pulled on me.
Okay.
I'm usually too busy to come up with any good pranks, so I'm the one that gets punked on a lot.
I feel like the really good ones too end up being kind of mean in a way.
A little bit, right?
Yeah.
You feel a little bit guilty punking on somebody that hard or pranking on them. Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
Unless
it's my buddies.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Then you feel a little better about it.
Work colleagues probably
But
can't.
they know to stay away from you on April 1st. Like nobody's hanging out on
That's
April
right.
Fool's
Yeah,
Day.
they dodge me. Yes. We'll see if I can come up
Just
with
stick
some
with
time
the
to have
people
some
you
fun with
trust.
it. Right, exactly. Right. You.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'm not pulling any pranks on Frank today.
There you go.
So, although that would make the episode more interesting.
It would make it fun, yeah.
We'll see. There was a great prank when I was in high school. We lived at the beach, and we lived on this island, and it was really annoying because it took forever to get to school. Because the school was right across the bay from where our house was, but no bridge. The bridges were at the ends of the island.
Got it.
So every day I would drive all the way down to one end of the island, go over the bridge, and drive all the way down the mainland to school.
Right.
And then I would just complete the loop usually in the evening and come back home the other direction. Well, the local newspaper on April Fool's Day put out this huge headline article, front page, that they were building a bridge in the middle of the island. And I fell for it, hook, line, and sinker.
You were so excited.
I got
weren't you?
so excited. I totally forgot what day it was, and the newspaper got me. So it wasn't
hilarious.
It wasn't like a personal one that somebody got me with, but I thought it was a pretty good one for the newspaper to do that.
Probably couldn't get away with that today.
Yeah, probably
Yes,
not.
yeah.
It'd have to come from like the Onion or the Babylon Bee or something, right?
The onion's the best.
Awesome. All right, well, let's talk about these April Fool's situations in financial and retirement planning and see what we can learn from them. So I know there's a belief out there that some people are like, hey, these guaranteed high returns, they're easily attained. Like I should be able to get 10% easily. Do you face that belief, and how do you have those conversations?
Well, you know what the most dangerous word in our industry is?
Guarantee.
Guarantee. Yeah. If you want people in badges knocking at my door,
Yes.
do not say guaranteed. But over the last 2 years, I think people get allured to these large returns, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen the tech companies, posting, 30%, 40% returns back to back.
Sure.
S&P's hitting 20+% returns back to back. So those are people do get complacent and think that that's going to continue for quite a while. So no, those big returns, I think we should probably not ever really expect those,
Yeah.
So when we build a financial plan, we actually use a 4 or 5% projected rate of return. But if we build a financial plan and somebody and their money will last till age 100, living the lifestyle and retirement they want, and we're only forecasting 5%, then we know if their portfolio averages 5%, they're going to be fine. If it averages 10, like we've seen recently, then they'll just have twice as much money and they can, have a more comfortable retirement. But I would never tell anybody that, we're going to expect a guaranteed 10% returns.
You highlight two dangers there, though, Frank, because it's guarantee X, Y, Z.
Sure.
But there's also this, I'm assuming like a 10% return. And you would kind of view that in most of the plans that you're working with folks. You would say that's probably too aggressive to assume that that's going to be the case.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So whether you go all the way to guarantee or not, careful of just where you're kind of
correct
putting all that effort and energy.
Yep,
Okay, very
exactly.
good.
Yep.
So that's one dangerous sort of foolish belief in the retirement planning. What about Social Security? I know that there's a myth out there that you better claim it ASAP before it runs out. Some people have some legitimate concerns over why that is. We've done shows before really kind of breaking down this conversation, but it's always good to, I think, re-highlight this one.
Yeah, Social Security is probably the most widely talked about and controversial topic out there right now. And there is a chance that somewhere between mid-2030s and 2040 that the Social Security Trust Fund may be depleted. There's a lot of levers they can pull to hopefully try to keep that funded. Just with the taxes coming in, they're saying that they can, afford to pay 80% of the Social Security benefits. That would be unfortunate. I still don't believe that people should run for the hills and think that, I need to take my Social Security early because, it's going to go away, that we're going to run out of money.
Because that may not be the right choice for somebody.
It may not be the right choice. I still think you plan and be optimistic with your planning and still plan for the best case scenario that Social Security is not going to run out. Try to get the biggest benefit that you can. And again, look at it, building it into your plan. Our planning software will determine if there is an 8 or 20% reduction, you're only going to receive 80% of your benefits, right? We can add that into your plan and still show what that outcome is, even if you delay Social Security, because it's still going to grow at 8% a year. You still get a cost of living adjustment. It's still a very tax-friendly benefit. So I don't think I would elect early just based on, some narrative that we're hearing off the social media. Exactly.
Yeah. Don't let the fear or the foolish claims lead you down a bad path.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
April Fool's topic today, beliefs that fool a lot of retirement savers. We're going to try and make sure that you're not in this category. There is the set it and forget it allure of retirement plans that are built in that style. I always love to think of the rotisserie chicken infomercial from back in the day, right? We set it and forget it. And that sounds great to build a retirement plan that way, but you don't do any of those for your clients, right?
No, we meet on a quarterly basis with most of our clients, and a retirement plan should be an ever-evolving plan. Right. It should change with your retirement. I don't know if I have one client in my 25 years of being in business that lifestyle that they expected 10, 15 years down the road is exactly what they planned 10 or 15 years early.
Sure.
Their life evolves, their life changes, their job
5 years,
changes.
let alone 10 or 15, right?
Right. I mean, they'll move to different areas. They'll have grandkids they want to gift to. They become charitably inclined. I mean, everything changes. The stock market changes, taxes changes, your lifestyle changes, your health changes. So no, a set it and forget it plan is really not a plan.
Yeah.
Right. A plan should be ever evolving and ever moving. It's a growing, living plan.
Yep. Makes sense. Growing and living, not set it and forget it.
Right. And I like the chicken rotisserie guy.
That's right. Don't do that. Even though it tastes good, don't do that. All right. There's the 4% rule. A lot of people have believed in this rule for a long time, Frank. And folks think that their fooled belief is that it makes retirement planning easy if I just follow that rule.
Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily agree with the 4% rule. And I know it's been around for quite a while, and it is kind of a formula that people live by.
Sure. Maybe a nice starting point.
Maybe something to look into as far as a starting formula. But what if you start off with $1 million? The stock market corrects by 30%, so now you're down to $700,000, but you're still taking out 4% of that million.
Right.
Can you adjust your income down 30% and still use that 4% rule, or are you going to have to take 4% from the million, right?
Yeah.
So the 4% rule, I think, is designed to preserve your assets, right?
Yeah.
Most of my clients don't want to die with $1 million, so I think even a strategic pull down, is fine as long as it's strategic and you have a formula based model to produce that. So you can, it's okay if you pull down your assets a little bit. So the 4% rule, again, is to preserve all of those assets. But you got to be careful of the sequence of returns. Yeah. Again, if you're pulling out 4% and the market's bouncing around on you, that could be a recipe for disaster. So we use more of a bucket strategy, where we have, 6 to 12 months cash. We have 3 to 5 years in an income bucket, and then we have a long-term growth bucket. And
so we're strategic about where you pull that money out based on the environment of the economy and the markets and all those kinds of things.
Because the 4% rule is not going to work if we have a 20, 30, 40% market correction. Yeah. So you got to be careful of that.
And that's where the planning comes into play, because you can say, okay, we're not going to take money out of this bucket this time around. We're going to use this one over here that's specifically designed for moments like this.
100%.
Okay, very cool. Yep. All right, one last April Fool's issue that pops up for a lot of folks. It pops up year round, but another thing that fools investors and savers is the fear of spending. And I know this is one that you're passionate about, and you touched on it a moment ago, where there's a moment where frugality sort of no longer becomes this, virtuous or valuable thing.
Right.
And that's where you said people often don't want to die with $1 million. And I take that to mean they want to use their dollars and have that increased lifestyle or that flexibility or freedom that they're looking for.
Yeah, I think this is the toughest concept for me to explain to clients. And it's not tough for me to explain, but difficult for them to get their head around. Okay. And the reason for that is if you have $1 million, you're probably a fairly responsible person. Yeah. You're probably responsible with your spending. You're probably very frugal through your accumulation in your working years. And I think that mindset is tough to change when you retire. So now your savings you have to start to spend your savings.
Yeah.
And saving and spending are two, they're opposite concepts, right?
Yep.
And so when you've spent your entire life saving and now you have to spend that, that's tough to get your head around. I've had this conversation several times in the last month, it seems like. And I think what really makes folks more comfortable with spending some of their assets is if they can see their plan on the screen, and we can add in vacations and charitable giving and giving to their grandkids and buying a new car and going to the beach and getting a Florida condo, whatever their dreams are.
Yep.
Right? And we can show those expenses in that cash flow analysis and show, again, at a forecasted 5% rate of return, something super conservative, and demonstrate to them that they're going to be fine until age 100, then I think that makes enjoying their savings, their retirement funds, a little more enjoyable for them. They don't feel irresponsible by spending the fruits of their labor.
Well, great points across the board, Frank. Really appreciate you. So I know none of us wants to fall victim to an April Fool's joke or issue that costs us money. And that is especially true for retirement planners and savers. And so what we want to do today is make sure that you're aware of a great resource that Frank has created that you can get access to right now. It's a downloadable guide at no cost. You can go get this guide, get information about planning for retirement. It's called The 5 Simple Steps to a Successful Retirement. Sets a great foundation for your financial planning journey. Make sure that you have a retirement that is a blockbuster. Again, making sure that you're living the lifestyle that you want and achieving those dreams in retirement. You can download it. Just check the link in the description of today's show, and you can get that great downloadable guide and get you on the right track to planning for your financial future and retirement. Frank, thanks for a great episode today.
Thank you, Walter.
Yeah, we'll see you again soon.
Yep. Cheers.
Thanks for joining us on The Time Blueprint.
Thanks, everybody.
Investment advisory services offered through Creative One Wealth, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Oliver Asset Management and Creative One Wealth are unaffiliated entities. Licensed insurance professional. This information is for educational purposes only and should not be construed as advice or a recommendation for your specific circumstances. Investing involves risk, including possible loss of principal. Insurance product guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing company. We are not affiliated with any government agency and do not provide tax or legal advice.